Dive. My guest today is Mr. Amit Sarin, who is the Managing Director at Anantraj. Amit, thank you very much for joining us today at Deep Dive. Last week we saw the AI India Summit coming up with a total investment of over $227 billion in AI and infra-related commitments. And a large chunk of that is coming into the data centers sector, which is now emerging as one of the key sectors over the next few years. And you're already in the data center, so we thought let's touch base with you and then get deep down into how data centers are operating, who actually is the value creator, and to create that value, what are the infrastructure that is required. So the first question is that, you've been in the data center business. Can you take us through the infra requirement and from a country point of view, and how value creation happens at various levels?
This is very interesting. Data center business in our country, if you really see, started in the year 2019. That is when our Prime Minister he was the first leader in the world who spoke about data localization, that data should be localized. And at Anantraj, we took this very seriously and we started working towards data center. Initially, when Anantraj started, we started as a co-location player. Because see, one thing is very clear today, prior to 2019, this was not a very focused area in the country. And today, after we have seen the world change, how things have happened, especially in the last 3 to 4 years, all over the world, people have realized that whichever country can afford it would like to keep their data within that country or would like to go to friendly countries. For example, the EU deal which India just signed. So today, India has become a friendly partner to the European Union for keeping their data. So this is also going to give a huge boost. So with India, we are looking at two basic opportunities. A, Indian data getting localized, and B, friendly countries also housing their data in India. And India vis-a-vis data centers is very well poised because in our country, the capex is one of the lowest in the world and the opex is also one of the lowest in the world. And as you know, that the Indian engineering brain is something which we all know. World over is famous. There are Indians only who are developing software, data, and whatnot. So, frankly, India is in a very good position to grow in this sector.
So, if you were to look into the live data capacity as of 2025, we had the total capacity at 1.93 gigawatt. There are estimates that this will double by 2028, and the kind of quantum leap that it will have by 2030, as many more investments will come in, especially by hyperscalers like Google and Microsoft and others, or Reliance or Adani, which they have been talking about. It will be multifold from here. So give us a sense of, you spoke about that, you started off as a co-location. Now what we're talking about is AI-centric infrastructure for data centers which are there. How does it pan out actually, and what is the kind of infra requirement from a company which is providing that kind of facility, whether it's in form of hardware, whether it's in form of tie-ups with respect to the stack or infra softwares, or the entire project construction itself?
This business, first we'll talk about the technicalities and then we'll talk about the capacities. This business, we feel, can be done or should be done in two categories. First is co-location, which Anantraj started with. And after establishing ourselves as a co-location player, Anantraj moved on to providing cloud also. Initially, we started with infrastructure as a service. So we feel that in this business, either you're a co-location player, which means you give all infrastructure up to the rack. And then when you graduate to being a cloud company, you start with infrastructure as a service. And these are two things which Anantraj today is doing. And we feel that this is where you grow. And see, cloud, once you start giving cloud infrastructure as a service, this itself is a huge business. So you start with cloud and then you move on to as high as AI and beyond that. So as of now, technology talks about AI. God knows, after maybe a few years or maybe months, we will start talking about even advanced technologies. As you know, technology business that way grows very, very fast. So we feel that these are the two categories people should focus and work on. Number one. Number two, category, capacity, if you see, the Indian capacity right now is, like you just said, it's close to 1.5 to 1.9, 1,000, 1,500 to 1,900. But this capacity, if you only talk about Indian data, we feel this can easily be between 6 to 7 gigabytes. So this is just Indian capacity as of now. And as you know, that this is one thing which keeps growing, because there are not many data which one can afford to delete, especially when we work from B2B. So data requirement only goes up. So as of now, we feel that this capacity comfortably can go 3 to 4 times than what it is right now in the country, and then beyond. And then when we start getting the friendly nations data also, this will further increase. So that way, India is very well poised in both the things.
Give us a sense of the kind of investment that is required and the kind of returns that can come in and it's not a short-term return, it's a long play for any data center player, and you've been there since 2019 there. So give us a sense of what kind of investment is needed, maybe for 100 megawatts or 50 megawatts, and what is the kind of value addition that comes in at every level, so that we understand how the industry is going to shape up eventually.
Let's break this into 1 megawatt. It'll be easier to understand. Otherwise, the figures will actually get very big. So when we talk about 1 megawatt, today, when you do co-location, the basic costing for 1 megawatt for co-location, we are talking about world-class co-location. So, and which is something which will be certified also by authorities later on. So it is anything between 55 to 60 crores for that. So that is one. And your return here is approximately, the payback time, as you know, is approximately about 4.5 to 5 years. That's for the basic thing. Fortunately, at Anantraj, we are able to do it at much lower cost because our existing infrastructure was qualified and now is certified. We are a construction certified data center. So we were able to do this, achieve this in about half the cost. So for us, the returns are even better. That's one. When you move on to cloud, so cloud itself is a huge horizon. But the good part about cloud is that the payback is even faster. Now, when you talk about cloud, only infrastructure as a service, there is an additional cost of close to about 100 crores per megawatt. And then when you keep on adding services, the cost keeps on going up. So as of now, we are talking about infrastructure as a service where there are good EBITDA margins, but the fact is that upfront one has to invest all this. So when you're talking about 100 megawatts, for example, at Anantraj, we are talking about 357 megawatts. So you can imagine, not all of it is going to be cloud. Our basic model is that we do infrastructure as a service and then move on to cloud also. Right now, the ratios we are looking at, which we feel that we will further be able to improve, especially in the scenario which is going on. As of now, we are focusing with 75 co-location and 25% cloud, but these cloud will further go up.
So also a sense of the fact that you are tying up with major global players like Orange or Summers to provide infra as well as a cloud or hardware services. How do these tie-up help you in making that data center or going to the market eventually to various clients or other big IT companies?
When we started as a co-location player, it was fairly simple for us because co-location actually is hardcore infrastructure. And infrastructure is something Anantraj has been doing for almost 5.5 decades. So we were very comfortable doing that. But yes, when we moved on to cloud, it is pure technology. And initially, we tied up with Orange. All the equipment and the technology which we are using for Ashok Cloud, which is a sovereign cloud of the country, which was launched in October 24, is with the help of Orange. All the technology and equipment has been taken from them. So they are technically supporting us that way, number one. Number two, recently, Anantraj did one more tie-up, which is with Summer, a Spanish company. This company is basically a specialist in providing AI-enabled infrastructure. So, as you know, a lot of data is going to be requiring AI, and we recently India witnessed one of the largest AI summits in the world. In fact, this was the fourth one, and if you really see the earlier three and this one has surpassed even the earlier three put together. So we got phenomenal response as a country, as a company in every way. So we did this tie-up with Summer, the Spanish company, to be AI-enabled also, because we feel that the future is going to depend a lot on infrastructure which is AI-enabled. So our clients will have the option of, if they want co-location, they can take co-location. If they want cloud infrastructure as a service, we can provide that with the help of our technical partners. And then now, with the recent tie-up which we've done, we will also be able to provide AI-enabled infrastructure.
She provides you with overall outlook of market coverage. With her keen eye for detail and an expertise at insightful interviews, she brings clarity to the stock market and beyond. Ankita Saxena, only on ET Now.
From anchoring live sessions to breaking down earning reports, navigating the market moves and analyze numbers that matter. Going beyond management soundbites, asking the real questions to get you the real picture. Whether it's catching big news as it unfolds or reporting live from major events, I'm always where the action is. With a sharp focus on technical analysis, I help you analyze the market trends and their likely impact. My mission? To keep you ahead of the curve. Catch all this and more with me, Shrishti Sharma, only on ET Now.
From bullion to barrels, steel to sugar, every commodity tells a story. They move economies. Behind every price swing is a signal that matters to you. Gold, agri, oil, metals, every tick has a trigger. From big macro shifts to micro market moves, we decode the chaos so you don't have to. Join me, Ashesha Advaryu, as I make sense of global commodities on Commodity Central, Monday to Friday, 1 p.m. only on ET Now.
From tracking India's consumption sector to decoding the biggest market trends, I connect the dots between data, decision, and disruption. From FMCG shelves to real estate skylines, from travel trends to consumer buzz, decoding what drives India's consumption engine. From tracking corporates, crunching data, and breaking it all down live, real time for you. If you take a look at the Nifty gainers today, markets don't wait, and neither do I.
One of the key important factors for data center is, as you said, construction should be certified for a data center. That's one thing. How prepared is India with respect to that construction? Are our buildings or infra certified for AI data centers?
Frankly, sir, existing buildings, it is very difficult to take them, because if you see in normal terms, a building which is made for human habitation and a building which is required for data centers, the data center buildings has to have 4 times the strength of a normal building, which I guess is not possible. So you actually have to break that building and make a new one. So existing infrastructure is not going to help a lot of people in this situation. One has to start in from scratch. There are few players. Fortunately, people like us, and this is thanks to our founder chairman's policy. Whenever we made our buildings, we used to keep provisions for FAR. As you know, India is a growing economy, and FAR keep going up. So we used to make those kind of provisions in the building from day one. So today, that is why we very proudly told you in the beginning that we are today fully certified. Right now, there is, of course, I guess the government is also working on making an Indian body which is going to be certifying data centers. But right now, there is an American company which is called TIA. So this is the company which certifies data centers, and Anantraj, for the main data center which we've already started, we've already obtained a construction certification for it.
One of the biggest, impediments to data center is the availability of power. How do you see that availability for data centers? If you're talking about global country, many countries in the US and Europe as well, and they're talking about the kind of data centers they need. But the biggest issue for them is also availability of power. How do you see availability of power in India for data centers?
Fortunately, last 1 decade, India has created enough power. Today, like both of us, we were talking about a capacity of 6 to 7 gigabytes. This is something which I think India has most of it, and for India to create this is not a problem. The last 1 decade has seen huge infrastructure boost in the power sector. Even as of now, as we work, the 3 data centers we are working on right now are in Haryana, and the 4th one is in Andhra. Fortunately, both the states today have no issue with power. In fact, we already have assurances that the power required will be supplied to us. Number one. Number two, India, even if we take grid power, is very competitive compared to the world vis-a-vis the cost of power. So we are well poised in both the situations.
How do you look at green data centers there? I mean, is there scope for green data centers, and does it help in any way in kind of the service or the the pricing that you are able to give to customers or clients?
Sorry, what was the first part of the question?
Green data centers.
Yes, sir. See, I'll tell you, green data center actually will also come up. But as you know, of course, green data centers will further reduce the power cost. So that is going to be an added advantage in the long run. At Anantraj also, we are now in talks with a lot of solar as well as there are even other alternatives. There are alternatives like, water and maybe other, I'll just tell you the name. Hydrogen technology and other technologies also. So we at Anantraj are already in talks with people, and we will in the long run also look at converting most of our power requirement towards the green requirement.
Can you also take us through a bit of the entire value chain? In the entire value chain of from setting up a construction or building there to the final data center, where all value can be captured by investors. It's not, I'm sure the value will not be equal at every level, but there will be value that can be captured when you're looking at a real estate company putting up a infra for data center, or be a cooling towers, or for that matter your GPUs or servers that have been put in place, or for that matter the clients that can come on board. So who captures the value at what level, if you can give us an idea of it?
Like we told you in the beginning, we very strongly feel that this business will be done in 2 categories: hyperscaler and cloud. So for hyperscaler, whatever you require up to the rack is something where, across like air conditioning, firefighting, generators. So across the board, there are going to be companies which are going to be getting work, and value is going to be created. And then number 2 is when you come into cloud, of course, there are GPUs, there are other so many technical things which are required. But we feel as a data center company, one should focus on basically 2 things only. Either you are a co-location player or a hyperscaler, or both. But one has to fall into these 2 categories or both. Beyond that, vis-a-vis directly with data centers, there is no direct linkage.
There's one more thing which is interesting, which is brewing in this industry, is the battle of cities. Actually, if you look at today's entire size of live data centers, Mumbai has the highest share. but possibly over the next 5 to 10 years, I think Andhra or Vizag will become the largest one in terms of the maximum data centers which are coming in. How do you go about choosing a city? What is the kind of factors that any company looks at while selecting a city and setting up a big data center there?
I'll tell you, we started with Haryana. Haryana is our home state, and we got very good encouragement from the government in all aspects. Haryana is a surplus power state also, so power is going to be one major factor. And see, when we are talking about only Indian data, so as of now, the sea cable part is not very important for us. So of course, we are going to be in Andhra, which has a huge sea front also. So that is going to be an added advantage. But when we only talk about focusing on Indian data, we are pretty much sorted between Haryana and Andhra right now.
And does any company that is selecting a data center needs to look at whether any state is surplus in power, whether any what is the kind of incentives that is required? Which states today provide best incentives for setting up data centers today?
In fact, almost all states today are welcoming data centers. So that is not an issue, because as you know that one thing which is very good is that India has decided first to keep all its data within the country, which is a very good thing. Eventually that is going to happen. And states are more or less very encouraging towards this. As of now, we are focusing on two, and both the states we've got a good welcome, both in Andhra also and in Haryana also. So as of now, we get to a capacity of 357 in these two states. And of course, one is talking beyond that also, because as you know that the Indian capacity is going to really multiply. So at Andhra also, we are looking to expand also. But for the first thing, for 357, we are fortunately completely sorted.
One of the recent announcements in the budget was the kind of incentive for any foreign hyperscaler who's coming into India using the data centers set up by the Indian company. The capital goods for them, will be exempt from duties, which is up to 2047. A big move, given the fact that the kind of impetus the government has to push data centers. How do you think that's going to change the entire landscape? And from an economics point of view, what could be the gains for companies like you?
In fact, so this is the best thing which could have happened. Fortunately, in the budget, it was very clearly spelled out by the government that foreign companies who are going to use Indian data centers. So, the government actually is going to achieve two major objectives by doing this. So the data will have to stay in India with Indian data centers. So that's one, the data gets in-housed. And if these people want to avail of the tax benefit, they will use Indian data centers, and they will even use Indian resellers. So but both the combinations are a win-win situation for the companies who are into data centers in the country, number one, and for that the Indian data will stay within the country. So it's a win-win situation, both for the government as well as the Indian companies. And of course, the foreign companies eventually will, save on taxes, which is good for them also.
Amit, I know it was a pleasure talking to you today and understanding the entire data center business, because this is something which we're going to see for the next 3 to 5 years as more companies get into the data center business. And we have that the big aim of reaching 10 gigawatt by 2030 or so. So thank you very much for joining us today on Deep Dive and giving us a perspective of how this data center business works. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.